Some of you may not know that Lainey is the reason this wonderful man is here. Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, y'all. Henry Cho is one of my favorite comedians. And he was born in 1961 in Knoxville, Tennessee. And he was in college for a long time. He says that he changed majors several times in 5 to 6 years he was in college. Just didn't know what he wanted to do and was having a lot of fun and really enjoying life too much in school. And somewhere around year 6, he and his friends were out, and one of his friends asked him, what do you really want to do, Henry? What do you want to do? And he said, I want to do stand-up. And his friend said, you're not funny, right? And he said, I know, but I want to do this. So he actually called a comedy club, and they were having a night, a competition, and he did sign up, and he went. He figured it was in the competition was going to be everybody else who just thought they'd try stand-up, but it wasn't. And they only took 12 people. He was number 13 to sign up, and he finds out that night while he's there that these 12 are seasoned comedians and had been working for a while. He had never, ever done this. Never. So they called him on the Friday night, the night before he's supposed to go on, and told him somebody dropped out, so you're in the competition if you would like to be. You're one of the 12. And he said, great, I'll do that. So he's going with his friends that night, that Saturday night, and they're all in the truck, and the guy said, we can't believe you're going to do this. And he said, yeah, well, I am. And they said, well, what jokes are you going to tell? And he said, I don't know. I just know I'm doing this. So his friends started giving him ideas about what stories to tell about their escapades and their lives and everything. So he shows up, and he gets up on stage, and he absolutely kills it, he said. It just went fantastically. Couldn't have been better. And after the show was over, they told him he won. Can you believe it? Had never, ever done that before. He had never practiced his set. He didn't know what he was going to say when he got up there. He just did his thing and trusted. And they hired him. 3 days later, on a Wednesday, he started working there as their MC. And 2 days later, on that Friday, he quit college. In 34 years now, up to this date, he's now one of the biggest comedians here in the United States, probably the world. So he's on Sirius XM radio. He's on Pandora's Comedy Channel. He's been on Netflix. I've seen him there. I watch his reels on TikTok and on Facebook as they come through. I just love him. But he's pretty big, and he was just inducted this year to the Grand Ole Opry. And he and another comedian were both inducted this year. They are the second and third comedians in all of that history to be inducted into the Grand Ole Opry. And the last comedian, the first one to be inducted, was in 1973. That many years ago. He knew what he wanted. He showed up. He took a risk, a huge risk. Huge risk. Had never done that before. But he knew what he wanted to do. Knew what he wanted to do. Everybody, even his friends, said, you're not funny, dude. What are you thinking? The people who loved him, his buddies, said, this is crazy. And he said, yeah, I know, and I'm going to do it. And so as you were singing, what was I made for? We don't play on the music, by the way. How perfect was that to sing right before this message? What was I made for? Somehow he knew what he was made for. In college, 6 years? several different majors, trying to figure it out, probably following some path somebody else had for him, or going the way most people went. Come out of high school, you go to college, you do 4 years, you get a job, and you do that thing, and you do your 9 to 5 or whatever it is you're going to do for 30, 40, however many years you're going to work, and then you retire, and then you go sit somewhere. I mean, that's usually the plan people follow. And he knew something different, even with no evidence that that was a good idea. That story and his picture should be in the dictionary next to the word faith. He had absolutely no evidence, none. In fact, he had evidence to the contrary, that he should do this, that he should be that. Isn't that amazing? And how many of us think and rethink and overthink and analyze even some of the smallest decisions of our lives? We do all this work up here, pros and cons. Some of us even write lists. I do that sometimes. Pros and cons. Reasons why I should not, reasons why I should. Which list is longer? And how many of us let the rational side of those pros or cons to flip us one way or the other with our decision? And probably the simplest way to do this is to tune in to what we did earlier. The first thing when we sat down is tune in here into our hearts, into divine wisdom, divine intelligence, which we are. And we don't just have it, we are that intelligence. And let that be our guide. He may not know about divine intelligence. I don't know. I don't know what Henry believes. I call him Henry because I assume we're friends. He's my friend in my head. Me and Henry. I don't know what he was. It doesn't sound like he was thinking at all about that, other than that he had a knowingness that he was going to do that. And that's it. He obviously thought about nothing else. He didn't think about what joke should I tell. He didn't wonder if he was funny. He had never tried it before, and he just went and entered a competition and took a chance. Took a chance. Are we willing to take chances? Are we willing to trust what we know, what we know, what we know? I haven't used that phrase in a while, that we know, the thing that we know, that we know, that we know, that we know. From somewhere, something tells us that we know this thing, whatever it is. And sometimes we still don't do what we know we should do, because we don't have evidence for it. Because we trust the rational, we trust the mind, we trust the evidence outside of us greater than we trust what's here. Here. We trust what people tell us. We trust what people want for us. And yes, there are lots of people who love us and want to give us advice and who want to steer us in a particular direction because they think that that is the right direction for us. And maybe it is. And it probably does look good on paper. There are a lot of things in my life that look great on paper that I did, or I followed somebody else's sage advice, and it probably was great advice, but perhaps I knew that there was something else for me. My parents tried to get me to do the 9 to 5 thing forever. I mean, I didn't do the right thing because my father wanted me to be an engineer, and I didn't want to do that. But he said, you have the brain for someone who's an engineer. You'd be great at that. And I probably would be. But that's something I wanted to do. So I kind of straddled that line, and I had a 9 to 5, but since my early 20s, I've always had a part-time business. Always. Always. And they were always around the same line. It was always around teaching or something around there. So I taught exercise, and then I had exercise instructors all over the area, in the Washington, D.C. area where I lived at the time. I did that for many years. Then after that, I did some training and development. Then I did some coaching on my own. I was like making stuff up. Anything to go out and do what I really wanted to do, but still held a job, because every time I talked about having a business, my poor parents were just like, oh, God. She's going to be in financial ruin, and they were worried about it, and how are you going to retire, and and I wouldn't think about all that. I just knew what I wanted. I knew what I knew. But, when I was growing up, you weren't supposed to trust your gut. God forbid. Just do what's smart. But I think we have to redefine what's smart. Redefine what's smart. And divine intelligence now, that's my guide, divine intelligence. With everything. And I'm learning that on a new level, because there are new challenges in life. There are new things coming up that I have to deal with. And I can't, if I go by what happens in the world and what the world tells me, then I am sunk. I'm sunk. And everything within me is saying, no, ignore all that evidence out there. Ignore all that and do what you feel. Do what you feel. Do what you know is in here. Do that. And so I'm learning how to do that and how to trust all the time. And so I've mentioned before, I've now got new affirmations, and I'm working with those. And I'm working at them because I have to feel them. And I noticed when it's easiest and I'm in there, then it's all good and it feels all wonderful, and I'm saying my affirmations and I'm having these moments. But then there are times when I notice that I am believing what the world tells me, because I'm identifying now with something outside of me. And I just caught that this morning. I thought, okay, I know it's all in my head. Of course, nobody knows I'm doing it. But as I'm sitting and I'm in conversation with different people, I'm sitting there and I'm identifying with what the world tells me. And I didn't catch that before when I first started on this journey. So now I think I need to go back to those affirmations, because I kind of backed off for a little bit. I was doing them 3 times a day. And then they were coming up on their own. It's funny, now sometimes when I wake up in the middle of the night, they're right there. Those affirmations are right there. So they are becoming a part of who I am. But still, when I'm in the world, sometimes I'm identifying back with the world in that circumstance. And I have to combat that. That's why I got to go back to 3 times a day. Out loud. This brain of mine, my analytical, gotta have evidence brain, I gotta work with it. And I gotta tell it, stop paying attention to what's in the world. Pay attention to me. Like the GPS member used to say, recalculate, 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 recalculate. I got times during the day where I need to go recalculate, recalculate, ignore that, okay. You're off the path, you're off the path. Go back, go back, go back. Go back to what divine intelligence is telling you. Do that thing. Say that thing out loud again, because we got to combat this mind that is running around and telling you, pay attention, pay attention. Because my brain thinks my heart is off the path. My brain wants to protect me. But divine intelligence is bigger and better and more powerful than the brain. But the brain has its thing, and the brain knows that it has to keep telling me, because I'm not getting the point. It knows I'm off doing this divine intelligence, this spiritual woo-woo stuff, and it doesn't. The brain's like, oh, what's wrong with her? I've had control of her all these years. Girlfriend's AWOL. So I think it feels like it's working overtime to get me back to reason, what it thinks is reason. And I have to keep saying, no, we're not paying attention to the world because I'm not going there. You got to remind yourself. I have to remind myself. I have to remind myself that the absolute realm that is God consciousness is bigger and more powerful than anything in the relative realm, anything in the manifest world. My God consciousness is more powerful and bigger than anything in the world. And some days I'm saying that out loud. When my brain starts working, I say, my God consciousness is more powerful than anything in the world, and I am that consciousness. So come on, brain, look. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to fight this out. And God consciousness is going to win, because I know I am more powerful than this brain. So you can just chill out, rest. Rest yourself. And at some point, I'll make that switch. I know it's there because I know it's working a lot of the time, but I still got to deal with this rational world when I start getting in front of people and you start hearing other things. And I can feel my heart, I can feel my soul bristling and going, I don't want to hear that. But you don't want to share everything with everybody, especially when you're working on something. The last thing you want to do is bring what you're working on to people who don't understand. No matter who they are. I don't care how much they love you. I don't care how long they've been in New Thought. I don't care. I don't care how many letters they have to have after their last name. It doesn't matter. Don't share stuff with people who don't get the work you're trying to do. Keep it to yourself and do your work. Do your work. All you need is divine intelligence. Hold it close to the vest. If you got to tell yourself 20 times, you got to tell yourself 20 times. So this morning on the treadmill, because I know, again, that's where I feel strong. When I'm working out, I'm feeling strong. And this brain is chilled out because that's physically impossible, science has determined, to be depressed and work out at the same time. Because your body's getting flooded by all these good chemicals. So I know when I'm working out, this is prime time. I got to work on this when my body is engaged. So I'm saying my affirmations all the way through that 30 minutes on the treadmill. And because that's good, and I can feel that. But I know that's my good spot. I know it is. There are certain songs I listen to on my playlist which just make me go, that's the sweet spot. That's where you do the affirmations. To work against, to combat what's happening with the brain. Just like we affirmed in the beginning prayer. It's just one thing. God consciousness encompasses everything. Everything. Even the circumstance you're working with. And the thing that you're working with, the thing that you're grappling with, the problem that you're trying to figure out is nothing compared to your God consciousness. It's nothing. You just have to know that. I just have to know that. I have to affirm it. I have to combat my rational mind, which says, this is a big thing, this is a big thing. And if I talk to certain people, they'll remind me it's a big thing. Thanks, but no thanks. Divine wisdom, the all good, God, whatever you call it, is more powerful than anything in the manifest world. That's always operating. That's always the case. We just have to know that and convince ourselves of it and live from that. knowledge. Live from that knowledge. Live from that place. Live from that place. And then you get to the point where you know what you know what you know. And you can know a new thing, which is whatever you're grappling with is defeated. And sometimes I say the circumstance is now eradicated. It cannot exist as long as I apply God consciousness to it. It cannot. And now I've added, and you will never exist. Because I want to claim what I want. I don't want it just to disappear now. I don't want you coming back. Be careful what you pray for. Because you can ask for whatever it is to disappear now, to go out of your life, to not be a part of your experience of life. And if you're only just thinking about now, yes, you could manifest that. But what about 5 years from now? I don't ever want this coming back. Never. So I'm claiming that too. I'm claiming all eternity. So what are you going to believe? You going to be like Henry and go out and get a thing done because you know it? And claim it, go do it, and kill it when you're doing it? Because that's your thing? And you know who you are, and you know what you want, and you know what you're made of? And you know what you're made of? We are made of God consciousness. You're made of God consciousness. And all you really have to know is that whatever is out of alignment with that God consciousness cannot exist in your life experience. You just got to tell it that. Tell the universe, this is the truth of my existence, here and now and always. Make it happen. And then you say, it is done. And then you give thanks for it. Right here, right now. Right here, right now. Let's take this into meditation. So what do you want to risk? What's the thing you kind of know in your heart? But perhaps there's evidence out in the world that it can't be, that you've never done it, that you're not ready, don't have the training, you don't have the experience, you're too old, don't have enough energy, you're not creative, you never sang before, never did public speaking, don't have a degree, you weren't raised that way. Somebody told you it wasn't a good idea. In fact, somebody told you it was a terrible idea. Something within you says it's right. You can't make it on your own. Nobody's loved you like that before. There's no kindness, no justice. It's not fair. What's the thing you're battling against? But what is it your heart wants? What does your heart want? What is your soul calling you to? What is your soul calling you to? What's that thing you haven't dared to do or think about? I want you to see it, see that thing. And I want you to see yourself as it in this moment. Don't edit it. Don't dumb it down. Don't apply reason to it. Let your imagination soar. Let your divine imagination take hold of that dream and knock it out of the park. And let yourself feel that, the joy of that, the freedom of that. Let yourself celebrate it in this moment. Knowing that God consciousness, that whatever you hold in God consciousness and pure potentiality, you can manifest. And nothing in this manifest world can stop it from happening. Nothing can stop it from happening. In the universe, that same God consciousness will step in and help you fulfill it. It will conspire to bring everything you need, everything you want to make it happen. God consciousness will bring about miracles and affirmations. It will show you and remind you that yes, this is the right path. Yes, follow your heart. Yes, it's happening. Yes, it's here. Yes, it's for you. Open your arms wide. Let me flood this into your life. Let me astound you. Let me astound you with how fabulous it is. The universe, God consciousness says, let me have it. All you have to do is believe. All you have to do is hold it in your heart and see it. And in the manifestation, I will surpass your dreams and astound you with the results. Let's breathe in. Exhale. Hold that thought, hold that dream. Breathe in. As we hold each other's dreams and hearts, exhale. Let yourself settle into it. Let yourself memorize the feeling of this, the celebration of the manifestation of this dream. And as you exhale it into the world, let the universe have it. Let divine intelligence have it. Let divine wisdom have it. Let divine power have it. And we call that thing that is in our hearts, we call it done. We call it good. And we say amen. Amen.